you want to be able to see the tarpaulin? Huh? Lean on the wall. Okay. Hello.
Have a ride on that one. Have a ride in that one.
Can we go to
What else? Want to go somewhere else? I think they're having a bonfire over there.
You see the track?
Dad! Dad!
Oh, here we go.
And drones, all sorts of ways of getting intelligence about the enemy. Still, the very best information on the day of battle is by sending out a vehicle like this one out ahead of the main force with someone in it you trust, sending back live information over the radio of what they're seeing. Because you know no one's put any spin on that information, no one's using it to their own end. So very, very important we have reconnaissance or scouting vehicles. Traditionally for reconnaissance, we've had a small vehicle like this. You've actually got a crew of 3 in this vehicle. This one's called a Lynx, by the way. It's a Canadian vehicle, made originally for the Canadian Army, then sold to European countries as well. This would have a crew of 3 in. At the moment, we can just see the driver with his head out the hatch. If this vehicle comes under fire at all from the enemy, he's got a lever on the side of his seat. He pulls that lever up, the seat drops down, and he drops down, closes his hatch, and he looks out of those glass periscopes you can see in front of him. Now you can look through some of those glass periscopes on a stand in the museum. The whole idea there, of course, if a bullet or something from a shell hits the glass, it may crack the glass, but nothing will come in and wound the driver or any other crew member or damage the vehicle. They've got quick release buttons on the side, out drops the old periscope, you put a new one in and off you go. The commander can press a button, out flies a pattern of smoke grenades in front of the vehicle, very quickly a big smoke screen builds up, and you can manoeuvre back or off or out the way without the enemy seeing you. So again, it's a very simple but very good defensive method. Now they made the Lynx to be amphibious, so it can actually cross inland water, lakes or rivers. You wouldn't go in the sea with it. The first wave over the top would sink you like a stone. But it's another one of those useful features. Just the tracks going around will scoop up enough water to propel you across a river or a lake. And that means, of course, you can find out what the enemy are up to. And fairly soon, within the next few years, we're going to have a fairly big new reconnaissance vehicle called Scout that's up to 30 tonnes, so a very different vehicle from that one we just saw. Right, another type of vehicle. We will be seeing tanks, don't worry, a bit later on, but another type of vehicle now looks similar to that first one, but this one's got a very different role on the battlefield. If you've seen our trench diorama with that last remaining Mark I First World War tank, you can see that's going forward and crushing the barbed wire, and our soldiers, the British soldiers, are marching along behind it to get in the German trenches without getting held up. Now the top speed of that first tank was about 3 miles an hour, 4 miles an hour with the wind behind you. That's about marching pace. It didn't want to go much faster than that because it didn't want to lose the soldiers. It's leading. So countries start building vehicles to put the soldiers in the back to keep up with the tanks. And when this vehicle was built in the 1960s, pretty much every country that built a tank built a box on tracks like this one to go forward and take the soldiers into action. Now the 432 started service in the end of the 1960s, the vehicle, as well as being delivered by it. And that's got a turret on the top with a thumping great 30mm cannon on it. So it's a very powerful vehicle and a very fast vehicle. Going back to speed being a defence, the Warrior's engine is actually a starter motor from a destroyer, so it can belt that vehicle around the battlefield really quickly, deliver the troops, very good brakes. There will be a tank, I repeat, coming on in a moment, but just before we get to tanks, another one of those vehicles, so easy to overlook, so important for a military force. If you can imagine, your tanks have gone forward into action, they've won the day, they've crossed the battlefield, they're going to need resupplying. And we know the Army's got lots of big butch trucks with massive beefy wheels on, but even those wheeled vehicles might not be able to get to where the tanks have got to, because as I said earlier, wheels can't always go to the same places as tracks. So that's why you need a supply vehicle like this one, based on tracks. This particular vehicle, it's called an M548, Model 548. It's an American design vehicle back in the 60s. Lots of countries bought it. It's still in use all around the world. And this one used to be used by the British Army when it was in service for resupplying our air defence batteries, our regular air defence system. This saw service in the First Gulf War. Now, when the Army got rid of some of their M548s, we took a number down here at the Tank Museum, and what we've done is we've put bus seats in the back of this vehicle, so if you fancy having a go and feeling what it's like bouncing around in a track vehicle, this will be running around our arena the rest of the afternoon from over in the far corner there. Health and safety again, just a quick reminder, you've got to be over a metre tall to have a go at it. It's also a good example. Think of this like a Ford Transit on tracks. You load up he wants to turn left, he pulls back on the left-hand lead. Now the M548 is also made of aluminium to keep the weight down. It's also amphibious, so again, if the bridges are blown, you still need to get those supplies forward. Very little preparation, that vehicle can cross a river vehicle, lots and lots of these have been made. Again, very reliable, so the Army likes reliability, which means they stay in service for a long time. Right, now some proper tanks. Now the tanks we're going to show you date to a period, the Eastern Bloc countries led by the Soviet Union. And we knew in the West we would never match the Soviets tank for tank in terms of numbers. The Russians in World War II, their method of fighting was to make an awful lot of whatever was needed, including tanks. And in the museum you can see their classic tank of World War II, the T-34. Now after the Second World War, they built a whole series of tanks that look very similar to this one. And the idea here is that you make a very simple tank. It's got a good gun on it, it's got a good reliable engine. The armour protection's not bad, but everything after that, it doesn't matter. In the Soviet system at the time, when this tank was being designed, if you didn't like the crew conditions of this tank, there was places you'd be sent to. So no one objected to the fact that the space inside here is terribly cramped. It is very hard to use. but it works. It's a very simple design, and the Russians use their tanks as we might have done a hand grenade. If you need 5 hand grenades to clear a house, here's 5 hand grenades. If you need 20 of these tanks to get from A to B 5 miles down the road, here's 20 of these vehicles, or 10, or however many you're going to need to keep going. So it's very basic, but it's very effective. Now you can see on this tank it's got what they call a 100mm gun. So 10 centimetres, the size of the hole at the end of the barrel. It fires high explosive rounds, rounds that blow up, they can knock down buildings or destroy.
Well, to tell the world about the story of tanks and
Basically,